Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted presents the Runcible Report, Season 21 Overview. Me and Jeff cannot get enough of doing these season chats, so we decided to do another one, and you got to pick it.
It's a nice way of just recapping and just going over general feelings and whether or not those feelings have changed over the years. Which for me is very rare. My feelings about Doctor.
I'm a little more. Sometimes I like things more than I don't think it changes my opinion. It's just
You're open for reinterpretation though, and you like to.
I like to see what. Yeah, I'm also paying attention to how I'm different. The world's different, and I'm used to. See, I watch. I'm a big British murder mystery stuff movie.
Yeah.
I have seen 4 or 5 versions of Murder on the Orient Express, and someone goes,
"Is that all? Only 4 or 5? Because there's about 1,000."
I think the only ones I know, there are about 6 of them. 3 films.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah. And Holmes in that, because I like to see it reinterpreted. Yeah, I do. I like to see some. That's why I like Doctor Who, because you're basically seeing a reinterpretation of the format every 3 years.
Yeah. It's where I struggle to is with 80s Who, because it's just my childhood, so I find it very hard.
It's my early 20s where I really
bitter and cynical already.
God, realize what twats we were. That's what it is. We're fucking assholes.
I'm not going to argue with that.
It was a bad I was really I only went into the mainstream part of the fads and stuff because I was doing a lot of drugs and drinking a lot, and just being 18 to in the 80s I was 16 to 26.
Well, I was just
and it was the 80s, so people were a little more.
I was just 7 when this series aired, so that, I think most people would agree, is when you're going to get into Doctor Who.
That's the perfect time.
I'd already been watching for 3 seasons before this.
I had moved away from home and had been living in Richmond for about 6 months. And I didn't see. And I didn't
take its toll.
No, I watched all of this high. I got the tapes. My brothers gave me the tapes. He made copies for me, and he booted me. He made a copy of everything, and I watched them all. I had my trusty 1980s The Thin episode guide.
Yeah.
And I watched it all, and I loved it.
David
was my.
I may have done that since I was 7.
I know. See, I was, But hey, Davison was my doctor for years. He was my doctor.
Yeah.
Because it was the first new doctor I got to see.
Yes. Yeah.
And I started, when me and Vic started this podcast, she doesn't have a good take on him. She does not like him. It doesn't talk to her. His era doesn't. She just I don't think she finds him or them interesting. And that's cool. I get why. And she's like, I just don't. It's just not. But I started to review Davison stuff with maybe this isn't the best. Maybe some of the Collins stuff's actually better than this. You know what I mean? But this last time I went through it about 6 months ago, I was like, you know what? The Davison era is incredibly underrated. There's some
incredibly underrated.
Yeah, because when it's good, it's good. It's good in spot. I think there's a lot of Sayward messes stuff up, and I don't disagree with that. I don't think he comes from his writing of Doctor Who comes from the same place as our love of Doctor Who comes.
This was about the point, and from here on in, most definitely, the Doctor Who fandom and JNT really started to have quite a fractious relationship.
And I think when we get to certain stories, I think there's something I know exactly what you're talking about, because how the show really changed and how it changed in the 3 years of Davison. It started one way and it ends something totally different. Yeah.
It really does, yeah.
It does.
If you look at Castrovalva and put that up against Caves of Androzani,
yeah, they're different. It's way different. And it's great. That's a great first chapter, and that's a great last chapter. I mean, it is. But they were trying something different, and I don't think, it's why. And I don't disagree with the Sayward's hand is heavy. I will say. But we'll talk about that. He has a heavy hand.
We'll come to that.
Yeah. I think there's a reason Bidmead. I think Bidmead was a much better guy. But I'm not going to count Root, because Root only did it for 2 stories.
Yeah, he was transitional, wasn't he? Really, which is a shame. I mean, that's not to minimise him, but he didn't have as big an impact on Doctor Who as
he was just
Bidmead, or he was just there to put scripts in place.
That's it. Scripts had already been bought by somebody else. I think Bidmead's you have converted me to the world, the mathematical
world
of Christopher Bidmead. Oh, it's a great season. I mean,
and we'll talk about that shortly as well.
Yeah, and then I think, God damn, I'm gonna blank on his name. Script editor after Sayward.
Well, Andrew Cartmel. Is that who you think?
Yeah.
No, because there was someone else before that, wasn't there? It was what's his face? Oh, see, this is what I mean about being bad with names.
Well, you're also getting older, man.
You see, Andrew Cartmel is down from.
That's true. But he did not get all this. His first season were all scripts that someone else had.
Wasn't his first real participation doing Paradise Towers? I think I read somewhere.
Yeah, 2 of the scripts are already in place and booked and set up. He was there to just they were ready to go, and that's why it took him until you don't really feel what he wants to do until his second season, and then you're like, oh, okay.
We probably should be experts on all of this, but I've forgotten more than I think I could ever know again,
Oh, I could have, 20 years ago, I had to probably run this off the top of my head. But there's a lot of it now. Plus the big
Basically, I just like to go, Doctor Who is good, yeah?
It's not good, yeah.
No.
But let's get started, because folks, last time I had to do notes, because it was season 2, and there were 14,000 stories.
This one's a bit briefer.
And this is a longer season, because their seasons just get shorter and shorter. This is where they're going. But I kind of like the 4 or 5 story season. I think it worked, But that's neither here or there. So this is season 21, and the first story is Warriors of the Deep.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And how apropos, we're going to talk about the Silurians, the Merkar, and the Sea Devils when me and Jeff in 3 days, we'll be watching a Sea Devil meets the Doctor in the form of Jodie.
Can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. And this is the story that sparked my... Well, actually, now, I say this. I knew what Sea Devils were before I ever saw...
Yeah, you'd seen it in a comic book or something?
Sea Devil. The anniversary Radio Times, there was a Sea Devil on the cover.
Oh, that's right.
And I'd read and reread and reread the synopsis for the Sea Devils.
Because there was an episode guide in that, wasn't there?
There was, yeah.
This is what I mean about. Are you talking about the special, the blue one?
It's the one with Pertwee on the cover with the Dalek, the Cyberman, and the Sea Devil. It was the Radio Times 10th anniversary edition.
The 10th. I'm thinking the 20th anniversary magazine that I had.
It was my dad's, and I loved that. It got thrown away when I got kicked out of home, but
that's a good.
That's a sad face. But yeah, so I was obsessed with Sea Devils, and then they turn up. in my Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And as a kid, this story blew my mind. I thought it was fantastic. It scared the... This is going to become a repeat theme as well. Being scared by Doctor Who. This is the season of 7-year-old
How old were you?
Jeff.
7?
I was 7.
Yeah, I could see this. I could see this messing up. I was 20. Almost 20.
You see,
by the time I saw it, I was 20.
You see the zips. You see the rubber costumes. You see the wobbly heads. You see the wet paint on the Merca. As a 7-year-old, you don't see any of that. You see these ancient reptiles coming to life and attacking a future Earth base under the sea. Well, what more could you want as a 7-year-old?
I think the story's good. I think the concept's good. I think.
I mean, it's Johnny Byrne.
Yeah, Johnny Byrne does a good story. He's not. I think there's some dodgy characters. Ideas.
I don't think Saywood was necessarily the best script editor for Johnny Byrne's stories because he's got quite magical stories on the go. I mean, Arc of Infinity could be brilliant.
No joke. You know. I like that one.
It just comes off as a little bit boring.
Yeah. There are parts of this I like. And every time I watch it, as I always say, turn the lights down, turn the lights down, turn the lights down. It's so bright, and that Merca is so dodgy. But I like the story. I like it when he's dealing with the Sea Devils and the Silurians. You know what I mean? I like the model work. I like the undersea base, man. I thought.
The model work is exceptional on this story.
Because they were not doing.
When the Silurians arrive to wake up the Sea Devils, and they're in that very dimly lit space, with all the dry ice and the Sea Devils all hunched over in hibernation, that stuff looks stunning.
Yeah, it does. It does, and what gets me is because some of the corridor action, and it's got a little bit too much corridor action. You know, where they're battling the Merca in the hallway. You know, they're running down the same two halls. You know. And I like
the water tank stuff as well with Davo taking a dip. Yeah. It's I
mean, they tried a lot, and I think they succeeded more than they failed.
Yes.
It is, and it is also probably other than Twin Dilemma, the most 80s episode of Doctor Who. Now I'm going to say this as someone who had the girls had shoulder pads, and there's a lot of pastel and soft grays on those costumes.
Yeah,
there's
a fair bit of beige in there as well.
Oh, there's a lot of crazy
beige.
A lot of 80s beige. You guys were bigger on beige. We had teal. We overdid the teal. But the set. There were a lot of post.
It's an impressive set.
It is, and it's very much like Outland or Aliens. Blade Runner in a way, Deep Star 6, all those like alien underwater movies, The Abyss, all that stuff had come out by now, hadn't it?
1984, The Abyss. No, The Abyss hadn't. I don't think.
Yeah, but I think it's very 80s science fiction.
It might have.
I don't know, but
it is very
80s science fiction. Yeah. It is.
They're
definitely.
It's of its time.
It's very of its time, man. The makeup on these poor women and the hair. It's like, did you all have a really bad static shock and your hair won't go fucking down? But you see what I mean? It's that 80s. It is.
Yeah. It's brash and bold and in your face in a way that no other decade could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, you put this up again. It's stark as well. It's all about being very almost two-tone, but with more colours. It's really weird. It's that sort of like white backgrounds but colourful characters, and it's really weird. 80s Who is so weird.
And it's dark. I mean, and this story is dark. It's very, it's a Cold War story. You know, it's about the end of we're stupid. We're going to blow ourselves up, which was a big thing in 80s films. You know,
we were still in the Cold War then, and this is nuclear threat. We were deep in it at this point.
We were about 10 years from the fall. We're about, I think we're 12 years before the fall of the Berlin Wall. And this
was that 92, 91?
I thought it was 90.
No, it wouldn't have been 94 because I was starting to go out and get drunk by then.
All right, but
I was 11 because I was 11 or 12 because I'd just been to Berlin about 6 months before the wall came down. So I went through Checkpoint Charlie. I went from West into East Berlin. I had that experience of that separation of a city.
When was that? 90 what?
90-ish. Yeah, early 90s. Okay. Very early 90s.
So, and I grew up outside D.C., so, you know, ground zero of the first, you know, me and Vic talk about it. It's like, yeah, we just knew that if it happened, we wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
We'd be gone.
Yeah.
Probably you would have too. Coventry. Were you living in Coventry then?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have wiped Coventry out. You make things.
Well, we did.
You did, but you know what I mean.
Now we have call centers.
Oh, jeez. Oh, is that
industry?
Two of our biggest employers have my hospital and a credit card company have tons of call centers. But you know, this is about East-West fighting détente. You know, it's where they're on edge. These guys are the telepaths are. That's a very 80s thing.
What's that film? Is it Saturn 3?
Yes, it's Saturn 3 with
the back of his neck.
With Kirk Douglas. Yeah. Yes, and Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
That's 80s, man. That's 80s science fiction right there.
But that's what I always think of because I saw that when I was quite young as well. So when I think of Warriors, I know, yeah. We'd watch any old thing. I mean, God.
I think I've blocked most of that movie out though.
I just remember snippets of it, but the thing going in the back of the neck is what I always think of, and I always think of that when I think of Warriors of the Deep.
Oh yeah, I get that. I'm seeing this image of Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett. I think is it Farrah Fawcett? I think so, or something. Whoever.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing this like movie pose, trying to be very. Give off that image of like chic and intellectual science fiction, and it's.
I just remember some stuff going down in a corridor, so it just made me think of Doctor Who.
All it did is me watching it is going. This looks like they took the costumes for a softcore porn science fiction film and put it on Farrah Fawcett and Kirk Douglas, because it screamed Emmanuel in space. All right, Americans are gonna go think of this word, Skinamax, because that's what
Skinamax.
Yeah, because Cinemax After Hours had that softcore, you know, titillating porn with the famous Madam forget her name, Xavier, and the Emmanuel movies, which were these things that, when I was a teenager, it was like. Your parents went to sleep and someone had Cinemax and you went over to your friend's house and watched it. It was titillating.
I imagine a lot of my UK friends of my age are probably thinking about the 10-minute tease, and I'll just leave hanging.
I'm going to Google that later and find out how really twisted you people are. Okay? Because you're repressed people. You're worse than us. The 10-minute tease? Oh, that just sounds awful. Oh, Jesus Christ. You don't want to know the look he just gave me, so. So, Warriors of the Deep, overall, I enjoy it. It's not my favorite of the season. It's not going to be a Creature of the Pit.
I don't know if it's true or not. In fact, I think it's been possibly debunked. But there's the story that one of the directors at the BBC sort of clicked on and saw about 10 minutes of Warriors of the Deep, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end for Doctor Who. It was, which is a shame because it feels more like a season 20 story. It feels like more like the sort of story we should have had in season 20, which was supposed to be celebrating the history of Doctor Who.
No joke.
But kind of falls flat. Whereas this one, you suddenly got Silurians, Sea Devils.
And it would have been a bigger hit. I think people would have remembered it more fondly if it had been mixed up in all the nostalgia.
But it kind of was because it came after, not too long after the Five Doctors aired.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, it's
2 months.
It's a space of about a month and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not long.
Yeah, that'd be there are parts of it like I remember Ingrid Pitt. Let me think if anybody else will remember. But I enjoyed it. So now look, I think we're gonna have a different take on this next one. Second story is The Awakening. I think this is an underappreciated gem. It's one of
my favorite stories of the season.
Yeah. Mine too. It is a great two-parter. I like the face in the wall.
The Malice scared me witless. Again, we're coming back to Jeff being scared by this season. And yeah, there's one story in this season that did not terrify me at some point, and we'll come to that. But yeah, this story scared me witless. It's the Malice inside the TARDIS, the psychic projection on the wall. Yeah. Freaked me out. And they had one at Longleat. And I was terrified of it. That and the Omega from Arc of Infinity were the two things that absolutely scared the bejiminies out of me.
Man. I just like these little ones where they go on Earth and the Doctor meets there's a monster, that's some alien. It's such a very generic story.
It's historical, but it's not. It's set in modern day, and I love that juxtaposition of a historical happening in modern day with an alien.
Oh yeah, it's everything in Doctor Who in 45 minutes. It's kind of where you prove you can do a standard 45-50 minute story in Doctor Who.
This would have also fit quite nicely in season 20, given that brief, because it's a historical, it's a science fiction, it's so weird.
Instead of a base under siege, it's a village under siege.
Yeah, and that's really intimidating as well, because there's this horrible feeling all the way throughout of it just being wrong, things being wrong, and these modern people like us acting like savages towards people. The fact that Tegan was going to be the Queen of the May and burn. There's something really unsettling about this in sort of almost a prisoner-esque kind of macabre way that makes your brain go... Weird.
There's a little John Wyndham here. There's something weird in this village. Yeah, I love it. I could watch it anytime. It's one I have popped in just like, I want to watch it. I haven't watched The Awakening. And he's good in it. And I will say this about the TARDIS team. I like Nyssa a great deal. I warmed to Adric as I've seen Matthew Waterhouse. He's less annoying because I've seen Matthew Waterhouse talk about stuff and gone, you know what, he's actually a really nice guy with a positive outlook on life, and I'm not going to bash him. He's great on... Folks, if you haven't gotten the season 17 box set and watched Behind the Sofa, Matthew Waterhouse and Colin Baker together watching is quite funny.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. It's I
still haven't touched season 17 yet.
Oh, no, it's great. They're together. It's Katie Manning and Nicola Bryant.
Oh.
It's the guy, Mark Irvine, the special effects guy.
Matt Irvin.
Irvin, the older lady that made Tom's costumes.
June Hudson.
June Hudson and Graham Harper together.
Oh, wow.
It's a good one.
That's an eclectic bunch, isn't it? Wow.
Oh, and I don't think Graham really knew the backstory when they did Creature of the Pit. Because the penis came out and he laughed, and Matt Irvin didn't think it was funny. Graham spent some time during that going, oh, but that looked great. He kept every so often he would compliment something. I think you're right. Those could fit in either way. But when we get to the next story, you're definitely in the heart. This is the kind of meat of season 21. And I think it's why I like it as a season, even though I understand and wish some of the things that made it this way weren't around. But next one's Frontiers, which I absolutely adored the last time I watched it.
It's magnificent, and
it's a really good story. And
the fear of sounding like a broken record, this one scared me silly.
This freaked me out. The people in the machine.
The people in the machine, and just that getting sucked down into the earth.
They're being buried alive. Yeah.
Which you can see the effect when you watch it as an adult. But as a kid, that really did look like people were being sucked down into the earth.
That gave me flashbacks to being a kid, and where I grew up in between the housing developments were woods. I mean, it may only be 100 yards wide at some points, but there are creeks and woods, and when you're a little kid, 100 yards is a lot.
It's a big world, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge world. And there wasn't quicksand, but there was soft sand that kind of your feet would get stuck in. And it would freak me out as a kid because I'd watch all those crap Tarzan movies on a Sunday afternoon with my brother. Yeah, man, my brother Huey read Edgar Rice Burroughs, so he watched them. And he said, this is a good one, and I watched it. Yeah, that's okay. It's a dude in a loincloth, but it's okay. But
there's a meme, isn't there, that as a child you think quicksand's going to be a much bigger threat than it actually turns out to be in your adult life.
Yeah. Because you think it's everywhere, because it was at all the movies.
Yeah. You can walk down the street and quicksand.
Oh my God! Some kid yelling it when you're about to jump in the sandbox and being freaked out. But this one, even as an adult seeing it, I was like, this is really good. And I think over the years, I got jaded. You got my third. I'd watch it in the different times. But now, last time I watched it, I was just watching to watch. I was doing a rewatch, and I liked the hell out of it.
I love the Tractators.
Yes, they're great.
They aren't what they wanted them to be, because they hired all these dancers, and they were supposed to unfurl from like a pillbug woodlouse kind of ball into these creatures, but the costumes just were not flexible in any way, shape or form. But they're such a great looking monster.
Well, no, and
they're so bulky.
Oh my God, they used one in an Eighth Doctor novel early on in the Eighth Doctor ones, yeah. And Joe Grant, there's a tree because Tractators can move large things in gravity. So they can bend time because if you have dense enough gravity, you know what I mean? You can bend time. And it's Joe Grant's in the story, and the Eighth Doctor companion, then it's early on, it's Sam, this girl Sam. And it was pretty good, but it was cool. And they talk about him, and he's not I don't think he's the monster. He happened to be at Earth when the first primates climbed down out of the trees.
Right.
So, but so they did stuff with him piloting planets, and that's what I kind of liked about them, that they were stealing parts. It's kind of like what makes Girl in the Fireplace work with the Clockwork Men, taking human parts, harvesting people to rebuild their machines.
Well, it's pure body horror again.
And that's why I think I like it. I think that's why I like it. It's Doctor Who made scary, and I'm like, this is what I like about really good Moffat. When he wants to be scary, or I like about Mark Platt. His stuff can be dark and a little creepy. I think Ghostlight works because it's creepy and it's really weird. Oh yeah.
I think this story is really oppressive as well. It's got
It
a
is.
very oppressive atmosphere. There's the threat above and below, and you're not safe in either place.
And you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can't leave.
So bleak. I love that.
It is, and they did it all inside, and it works. I think it works. I mean, the light's a little bright. I think the last time I watched it, I messed with the contrast on my TV to kind of darken it up.
It would work really well as a black and white story with heavy dark shadows in the caves where you can't necessarily tell if it's a tractator or because they make the caves quite shiny in that you can't tell if the shine is coming from the tractator's back or from the wall. So Mark Strickson, bless him, goes all in for this story.
Oh, for that crit where he starts to lose it? Yeah, I like him in this. I like him and Tegan. I think they're the better companions for 5.
I have a real soft spot for Turlo. I really do.
I think he's much. I think Strickson. I think he's watching people comment whenever, and there are a lot of Davos on my feeds. Davo fans, you know.
Yeah.
And we're talking about him 2-3 days after his birthday.
Yeah. On Peter Capaldi's birthday. Now you know when we recorded this.
Mm-hmm. But I think Turlo's great. I think he's good in this story. I think he's good with Tegan. I think the three of them are good. I think, if you had a better script editor, I'm not going to say better writers. I think there are good writers writing Davison seasons. I think if you had a lighter touch.
A lighter touch and maybe just a little bit more money. To polish off the edges.
Yeah.
And to be able to spend time working on things like how should this set be lit? How should this look?
Yeah.
But again, it's got that videotape feel to it, and it's got that 80s pop video sort of aesthetic.
Oh, you did, man, because you've just described two of the biggest issues with Warriors of the Deep for me is that it is very shot in front of video and very bright light, very bright colors. There's nothing to hide. There's no texture to the set.
Which is a textured set as well, which is really weird. There's no texture to a set that has texture.
It seems so sterile, and it just
if they you could just hit some really nice shadows on some of these sets that would
Put a little moisture in there. Make it like, if you ever watch those movies about undersea space, it's always damp because there's tons of condensation. Yeah.
Even just the sound of drips, make it a bit Das Booty, but
yeah. Let me hear some creaking.
Yeah. You can cover a lot of sins with atmospherics, and they could do that with sound quite easily, which sometimes they focus more on the music as the accompanying sound rather than atmospheric sound.
Yeah, they don't because they're doing it on video. Can they,
Yeah.
Can they do? How many sound effects did they actually overlay over what they were taping? Not much.
But it's easy for me to sit here 30 years later, having watched a lot of telly in the intervening years and made my own ideas about what I would like. It's easy for me to look back at 80s Who and go, needs more sound.
Well, me is the thing I keep thinking about. Have you ever seen a Sean Connery science fiction movie called Outland?
I know Outland, yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great movie. It is one of those 80s movies that I love. One, it's got Sean Connery in it, and he's a badass sheriff in outer space, and that's really cool.
Love a space sheriff.
It's a good movie. Peter Boyle. But it's that kind of movie. I want that. I am trapped. They're trapped under the sea.
Yeah.
There's bigger issues outside of the base.
Yeah.
That could happen and make things worse. But I've got my own problem. I'm outnumbered, and there's a something in here with me. You know what I mean? See, so if that part that I love 80s science fiction pseudo disaster, where they were putting every kind of genre into outer space. Aliens is a monster in a castle movie, but in a spaceship. Aliens is Guadalcanal Diary, a war movie in space with aliens.
It's interesting, actually.
And
These these first three stories all have very oppressive atmospheres.
It's 84.
You've got them stuck on a sea base. You've got them in a village where nothing is right. You've got them on a world where
the planet's
you're not
eating
safe
people.
Wherever you are. Yeah, exactly. The planet's eating people, or you're getting crushed to death by meteorite strikes. And then the TARDIS gets ripped apart.
Oh, then there's that. Yeah.
But I love that imagery of the Rock and the TARDIS set mixed together. That blew my mind as a kid.
He uses the hat stand as a weapon. Yeah, because that's good. You're talking about how, and it's getting worse. You know what I mean? Undersea base, the village where nothing's right. Then you're on the planet. The planet or the meteorites are going to kill you.
And then we go to
Resurrection of the Daleks is okay. I listened to a lot of other podcasts that have covered this era, and I flight through entirety. I took a break, but I listened to everything until they finished Original Who. I took about 2 months off, and then I did Tenet straight through, and I've taken about 3 months off. And now I'm at the end of Tenet. I'm on the specials, but. Yeah. There was a lot of conversation from those guys about Eric Sayward and the things he did wrong what I got from them is they don't like dark Doctor Who, and this stuff got too dark. It's it's too far out, and I kind of agree with.
It's brutal.
It is. I agree. I understand that sentiment, and I do agree. Agree with it. If I had a time to go back and say, hey, why don't we do it this way, I would have darkened some stuff up and I would lighten stuff up. But I don't think a lot of people like Davison's Dalek story, and I do. Always have. And every time I watch it, I think what other people told me, well, it's not this, it's not that. And I said, but it is. There's body horror. The Daleks are scary. They're a real threat. And we get to see. I like Tegan's exit. I think you have to have a companion at some point turn to the Doctor and say, "This is out of control, and I have to walk away."
It makes absolute sense, and again, that ties in because Tegan's been there from the start. That ties in with that change from Castrobalba through to this season, and how dark things get, and how bleak it all becomes. And this is the culmination of that for her. And this is right. This was my first Dalek story. If you discount the cameo in The Five Doctors, which was lovely but far too brief, this is the first time I've seen the Daleks in action.
Wow.
And this is the first time I've seen Davros, other than pictures, but the first time I've seen Davros live, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So this story for me is, and I'm going to surprise you here, this one scared me silly.
I always thought this one was scary. That's why I like it. Is the Daleks, I had not seen.
It's the melting man.
I hadn't seen a black and white Dalek yet, and I hadn't seen the first three Doctors Dalek stories in any form at this point.
So you've just seen Baker's.
Yeah. And I don't like his second one. I still don't like his second one. I mean, it's not. I don't hate it, but I don't. They're not a lot of Dalek stories in color that I like.
I think the 80s Dalek stories are the best Dalek stories, apart from the 60s.
I agree. I do. I think you're 100%. I agree with you. I think the 3 under Sayward, the 2 under Sayward, and the 1 under Cartmel are really good Dalek stories.
I love a Dalek story, and I love the 70s Dalek stories as well, but I think I prefer the 60s and the 80s Dalek stories. Yeah. I think they just do more for me. One from a nostalgic point of view, and one from looking back at it from an artistic point of view as well. There's something about the way the Daleks move, and I know it's cliche and old hat, but it is really eerie, and there is something utterly terrifying about the Daleks.
Yeah, that's why I like
this one. To
the
core.
This one is so, and everybody dies. That the Dalek, because it's why I like I love the Cybermen. They're my monster. But a lot of them are, some of them aren't. The Cybermen stories are the same. It's a little repetitive. But when there's good body horror, when someone gets turned into a Cyberman that you've started to like, I'm not a big fan of Russell Davies' the reimagined Cybermen look. I liked the Moffat when they made him more.
I've kind of grown to like the Davies ones more so than the Moffat ones, I think, because the Moffat ones look a bit Iron Man-y. I'm
an Iron Man fan, and I didn't notice it, but yeah, I think the tweak they did after the Gaiman suit was good, and I think the re-envisioned Mondasian ones.
Yeah.
See, that's why they're scared. The Cybermen should always look somewhat like that.
I'm a sucker for the Cyber Warriors as well, because they've got this real 70s vibe to them that because I love Revenge of the Cybermen and I don't care and I won't ever apologise for it. The Cyber Warriors really hit a sweet spot for me.
If you could do something with the body, if the overlay of them it wasn't so padded, I might
wish.
I like the head. I like the head.
Yeah. I just wish Cybermen were softer again.
Yeah.
I don't like the suit of armor.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's a robot. Stop it. You're just making him into a robot.
I want my Cybermen to feel like squishy bags of horrible formaldehyde-ish fluids.
I like it when the hand's kind of purple.
Organs.
The glove is kind of like.
Yeah.
With the Cyberman from the last Cyberman. What's I forget his kid. The kid from Villa La Via.
Oh yeah.
That's how I want my Cyberman.
Ashad. Yeah. He's
that's
terrifying.
How. Yeah. So, but I like. Do you like? Is this one you enjoyed? This Dalek one? Where do you rate it between? Is 60s your favorite?
Revelation's my favourite.
I do love Revelations because it's a lot of things I like about
Remembrance. In fact, I really like Remembrance to a point. So I think it's Revelation, Resurrection, Remembrance for me, which is probably people are going to call me a Philistine, but neither of the other two stuck Davros in a bread bin.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, admittedly, he's in a plastic cylinder for most of Revelation, but he's still more intimidating than he is on a spaceship in a bread bin.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think up until that point, until he's got a plastic bag and some phone cords, like they're trying to garrote him with a princess phone. Yeah, it's really ridiculous.
Plus, if they'd have made him look like the cartoon Emperor Dalek,
it would have been cool.
Which is what they were going for. It would have been so much cooler.
You know what that thing looks like with the lid down?
It looks like a boiled egg on the neck cup.
No, it looks like there was a brand of women's deodorant in this country that had.
Oh yeah, roll on. Yeah, Mum.
So that's all I could think of. But see, I want to talk back to that darkness thing is because this season they have I think Sayward's trying to do a goodbye tour with Davison. Like, it starts out with this, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Tegan leaves, and then he takes Turlough on a vacation because they're both kind of like, wow, we just survived that. We've lost Tegan. And they end up somewhere else, and it's sunny and beautiful, and you get a new companion, and Turlough leaves, and it's just a generic Doctor Who story with the Master, the Planet of Fire. I think that aspect of this season works for me, and having rewatched it, 6 months ago, wow, that kind of works. It's a dark season. You lighten it for the penultimate story of his with Perry.
Yeah.
And then you go whole hard dark again.
I mean, I love Perry. Well, we'll come more on to Perry. I'll talk more about Perry in a minute. But yeah, going from Resurrection into Planet of Fire is definitely a tonal shift.
Yeah.
And it ties more in with Frontios because we're getting a bit more of Turlough's backstory and his who he is, where he's come from, where he's at. But I'll be honest with you, Planet of Fire is probably my second least favourite Davison story.
I think
bores me rigid.
I enjoyed it a little more in this last rewatch, but I also tuned out at times because there's nothing happening.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
And I think they wanted to lighten the mood because they knew that they were going action movie for his finale, and that's why there's that tonal shift to give the audience 4 weeks of catching our breath. How about just 30 minutes or 20 minutes and then set up the threat of the story, and the miniature master. This
could have been a two-parter.
It could have been three, or that magic three-parter. There's three-parters,
They hadn't even thought about those yet, though, had they?
No,
really.
And I think you, me, and Vic all agree that it is like the perfect when it was 25 minutes. That's the perfect length in some ways. But it's not one I jump up and down to see. I mean, I like the goodbye between Turlough and the Doctor, and I love Perry. And Perry, Nicola Bryant is great from the get-go as Perry. She is, when she's yelling at the Master when he's in the box, and she just, it's great. There are moments that I really like about it, and the location work is great.
It looks beautiful.
It does. It's got nice costume designs, nice set designs. It looks beautiful.
I mean, it's got the Ainley Master in it, and I love Ainley's Master.
And he's kind of good. He's good.
He's
in
quite.
It.
He's a bit more subdued because a lot of it is Chameleon being the Master. I mean, Chameleon suddenly gets brought out of a dust cupboard. Broom cupboard under the stairs in the TARDIS and polished off just to kill it off, to get rid of it and say, that did not work.
We're going to tidy up. At least they could have just left him in there, and Moffat or Davies could have brought him back.
Yeah. I mean, he turns up in King's Demons, and you just don't see him again. And he's just been wandering around the TARDIS interfacing or whatever.
Oh yeah, I did like it. Big Finish did a few stories with him, and they were very
John
good.
Coleshaw,
John Coleshaw, I liked them. So let's move on to the next one. The next one's Caves of Androzani, and this is one that always gets voted toward the top of the all-time Doctor Who stories, and I agree, and I kind of agree. I know you have.
I think it's overrated and horrible.
Well, I know how much you hate it. I like it. I like putting him in peril. I like him doing the whole thing is him trying to save the companion's life for 2.5 episodes. That is the only reason. If he's going to regenerate, I want it to be for something.
He goes out as a hero.
Yeah, because some regenerations are stupid. That's why I like it. Tonally, it's not really right for Doctor Who all the time. But for a regeneration story, it's not him banging his head on a console. It's not, getting shot when he walks out the door. He's not David Tennant getting in a box. Most I will say this. I can only think of like three regenerations that I think was great.
Yeah.
I think it's 1 into 2, 3 into 4.
Yeah, but he just bods back to the TARDIS because he's feeling a bit old.
Yeah, but it's still better. It's still better than Colin Baker. And
comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I don't even like Tom's. I don't even really, I just think the Watcher in that bugs me.
Oh, I love the Watcher.
Yeah,
I love the Watcher.
Maybe if it would have been designed differently, I would like it.
Oh no, I love it. I love it because it's so indistinct, and it's because the Doctor can't see what the future is because he's at the end of this life. I love it. Oh, I love the Watcher. The Watcher freaks me out. I love it. But okay, so here's where I stand with Caves of Androzani. It does a lot of magnificent stuff. It looks stunning, apart from the Magma Beast.
Yeah, well.
It's clever. It's dark. It's bleak. It's also a Doctor Who story about drugs that doesn't have the sort of flimsiness of Nightmare of Eden to
oh yeah, everybody in that society is a junkie.
Yeah, it's a story about I know what they were trying to do, but when Peri's first full story is a gimp leching over her, that, even as a kid, made me feel like, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, but they're ripping off Phantom of the Opera, and that is the point of Phantom of the Opera, that it is skeezy.
Yeah, but he's not a gimp either.
Well, he's a puffy guy in a flamboyant costume and a mask. You know what I mean? It's that archaic evil villain, in Phantom of the Opera. It's the Master. It's a dude in the black cape.
However, he is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
As Sharaz Jack. He is it's a remarkable performance, and there's so much going for this story. But I can't. It doesn't. It makes me feel really just like.
I think I get what you're saying. And maybe I think
it makes me feel a bit dirty watching.
Well, but that's the point of this guy. He's not.
No, not even him. Just the whole story. It's not just Sharaz Jack. It's how brutal Stotts and his crew are. It's Morgus, who is he just oozes.
See, what I think that's a good point to it is that it's Peri and the Doctor are the only two people. It's all about them trying to stay alive. They've landed they have landed in the wrong place. She's going to die. It's his fault, and it's the Doctor. It's the antithesis or the opposite of End of Time. But Tennant's the selfish Doctor is you think he's going to make the selfish decision.
As a 20-year-old, you're watching it in one way.
Yeah.
As a 7-year-old, I'm watching it in a very different way.
You're getting none of what I just said. Yeah, I get that. Because I think that's where they're going. I think, and that's the problem with the Sayward era is, and why people have a problem with it is, to quote someone else, a couple people, because Sayward didn't like the Doctor. He wanted,
No,
not really.
He liked characters like Stotts. He liked gun runners and drug smugglers.
Yeah, he wanted to be writing dark adult stuff, and he's, if this had been something else,
he wanted to make like I won't say Blake 70, but a bit more Blake 70. You know how Blake 70 has
he wanted to make it a little more adult.
Yeah.
He was moving it from being... Yeah, he didn't really get the fact that it is an all-ages show. You don't have to make it a kiddie show. It can work on that level, but it doesn't. It works better at that. When people bitch about Disney, do you Disneyfy it? There's something Disney does when it makes kids movies. They also write a parallel plot or characters for adults, so they're entertained by the movies.
Yes, yeah.
You put enough, and I don't mean just like the laziness of Turner, something for the dads. You want something for adults to enjoy and could sit there and then be entertainment. This is the darkest. I think this is one of the darkest seasons of Doctor Who.
I wonder if part of it is because, although Tom Baker was my first Doctor, Davison was definitely my Doctor. He's the first Doctor that I watched from start to finish, as it happened. And that last story, I knew it was coming. I didn't know when it was coming or how it was coming. And so I was watching it in a sense of anxiety about my Doctor dying.
It's your first Doctor death. I didn't think about that.
Well, it's not my first Doctor death, but it's my first Doctor
that
that I've
but it's the first
with.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean.
I know he's going to survive. I know he's going to regenerate and become someone else, but he's still dying, and he's still the guy that I've grown up with. And I wonder if that has a negative impact on how I appreciate this story.
There are people that quit Doctor Who after one Doctor. Freaks them out.
Yeah.
I get you. I like this season as a whole. I think is it the best? Is it ideal Doctor Who? No, but I think it's better than. I think most of these stories are overall better than I remember them and how some people think of them. But I get you're one side of the coin or the other on some of them. You know what I mean? Because
and it is very close because it is the same coin. However, this story has the best regeneration.
Yes.
And the best foreshadowing of the regeneration, even better than the Watcher, and that's in the cliffhanger to episode 3, where the ship is starting to crash.
Yeah.
Davo's being all epic. And he starts seeing the regeneration effect in his vision. We get a Doctor's vision view of him looking at the screen.
Yeah.
And you see the start of that regeneration effect. One, that's the best visual representation of my migraines I've ever seen in my life. And two, it just... I didn't notice it until maybe the third or fourth time I ever watched this story.
Do you think that's where Davies got what he ultimately did? What he ultimately asked them to do, which was the yellow glowing, and then it's an energy.
Possibly. I think he was just searching for a consistency to regeneration.
And I appreciate that because I do like I like it being big.
I'm kind of bored of it now.
I want to see them do it.
I
preferred it when they laid down now, like when Capaldi passed out and did it. Yeah. Show him, have him be sitting in the chair and it happen. And I liked also.
I still really like Pertwee to Baker. It's so simple and so effective. It's literally just a crossfade between.
Well, see, that's why I like the Matt Smith into Capaldi because it's instantaneous.
Different face.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great one because one, you have two very energetic actors.
Yes, in very different ways with very
totally
different physicalities.
Yeah, it's great. I love that one. And the look on his face, he goes, "Do you know how to fly this thing?" And she's like, "Wait a minute." But it is. It's a great. I like that because I remember, and I don't think I saw it right away. I think my brother had to point it out to me.
Yeah. It's really subtle. It's really subtle. It's not remarked upon. It's not hinted at. It's just there, and they didn't need to do that, but they did, and it's just unsettling that the Doctor is now at the point that he's fighting off regeneration.
He's holding back to save her. Yeah, see, that's what I like.
Save Perry because he knows it's going to be bad.
Yeah, and I like it when he gives her the bat's milk. Or the whatever milk, and then he dies. And I like the faces, the little images.
That's me milking a bat. You can't see this, people, so it's probably for the best. But that was me milking a bat.
Uh, so what did you think about the heads floating around his face? I like it.
I'm not averse to anything like that.
Huh?
Doctor Who is weird, and weird stuff happens, and that weird stuff happens in the middle of a regeneration. Plus, we get Adric back. We see those faces that have come and gone. I really like it.
I do too.
And then for the Master to be there as well.
Oh yeah,
spurring him on to die. It's so good.
It is.
So good.
It is.
And then just that, and then Colin sits up. That's very similar, actually, to
Smith to Capaldi, yeah.
Smith to Capaldi, yeah, very similar.
Oh, and a great line. But
three eyes in one sentence. You see, I fell in love with Colin Baker straight away.
Yeah, because that scene at the end of KZan and Zani, for me, if it hadn't been that good, there's a lot in Twin Dilemma that would have made me not like him as a doctor.
Which is exactly what I was just going to say. Exactly. It's a good job they hooked me with that final scene in Androzani.
Because there's some terrible crap to come up coming
because
up.
Even at 7 years old, that first episode of Twin Dilemma, I knew was a fundamental error of judgment when it comes to storytelling.
It is so bad. It is not until they get to the planet is there anything that I enjoy about this story. I like some of the scenes in the wardrobe where they're talking, because I like the change of costume scene.
Yeah.
Him throttling her, him being... there are ways to make him seem crankier and a little more aggro without him being all lechery and violent.
Colin's a big chap as well.
He's a big dude.
He's very big. And
size.
Nicola is not a large woman. She's very diminutive. She's quite short. So to have this big guy attacking a young defenseless woman who we've just seen the Doctor give their life for
makes no sense. It is such a bad. Who wrote that terrible thing?
But even then, at 7 years old, I thought, well, I know the Doctor's not in their right mind. I know this is wrong. This is a misstep. But I'm still going to give him a chance.
Yeah.
Which I think not a lot of people did do either. And I
think people went into, unless he was your first Doctor or something, he was not given the benefit of the doubt. I think, but him being Colin Baker and being the ambassador of the show and Big Finish and stuff like that, and then us going back and his stuff again and go, wait a minute. Because I love Attack of the Cybermen. His first full story. I love it.
I love that whole season. Yeah, I'm just so excited for my Blu-ray. I am so excited for the Blu-ray.
So I get it.
Untrue.
It's coming out soon over there, isn't it?
Yeah. I think May time, possibly.
That means I won't see it until Christmas.
Yeah.
About 4 years. But they announced it quicker, so maybe we'll get it quicker. They announced it it was on Amazon for us to pre-order the same week you guys got it pre-order.
Oh, wow, okay.
But they'd only posted season 17 2 weeks before that, and I just got that last week.
Yeah.
So, I did. So there are parts of Twin Dilemma I do like. I like the monsters. Both the mollusk kind of monster and the feather people. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that they're played a little bit for comedy, because the rest of the first two episodes are painful.
One of them reminds me of the character out of Book of Boba Fett, the Twi'lek character who he's the sycophant for the mayor.
Oh God, I love that dude. I like that actor. He plays a lot of sycophants. And I think in that makeup, he went, "Oh, dude, I can go over the top with this."
I can really, I can ride this one all the way to the bank.
Bigger. Turn that sucker up to 11. Yeah, I like that guy when he goes, "Can I help?" And they're like, "No." So, but it's it's not, and I understand why this is a really weird transition. There's no other transition like it in the show, I think.
No, I don't.
Really, the final story is really dark, and it's just the end. And I think the next season has dark moments, but it's nowhere near as dark as this season.
I think the other error of judgment that they made was not holding this story back to the end, to the beginning of the next season.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You're going to start a Doctor's run by attempting to murder their companion,
pick a different story. Can it make us wait?
And then turning around at the end and saying, "I'm the Doctor, whether you like it or not," which is. I think some viewers could probably have seemed a little bit confrontational and also a little bit off-putting, and then just giving you the season end there, and then having to wait to actually see what his real Doctor is going to be like, kind of.
And you really don't even see the best version of him until the beginning of the next season.
No, yeah.
Because I think Mysterious Planet is where you see the best.
Yeah. But even then, we never get a proper chance to see him because there's so many head games and mind games throughout Trial of a Time Lord that he doesn't get to be his Doctor enough.
No, because
he's having to be other versions.
Yeah, I know. And even though I did, like, on the last viewing, I really love Trial of the Time Lords, and the Blu-ray set is freaking amazing. Yeah. Terror the Vervoids.
Vervoids is so good.
It's so good. I'm looking forward to that season 22 set. I think that's.
I really am.
Yeah.
I really am.
And I'm enjoying the season. I'm just in the middle of season 17, and I'm digging the hell out of it. I hate Jeff right now.
Well, now you've got past Destiny of the Daleks and City of Death. It's all uphill. It's all good there.
Oh, well, I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do, what the ultimate version of Shada is, because they've got 5 versions of Shada. It's too many.
I'm waiting for people to block me for my previous comments, so I'll just say those comments are not representative.
We'll see what happens.
They are.
So it's time for the rankings, and I didn't do any prep, so let's see what we got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an even 6 stories.
An even 6.
All right, I'm gonna let you go first this time. What is your number 6?
Planet of Fire.
I'm gonna say Twin Dilemma. I can't. I can't. I just can't. I want to.
I prefer Twin Dilemma to Planet of Fire.
Wow.
I'll go that far.
Wow.
Only just though.
Oh, okay. I'll go with my number 5. I'm going to be generous and say it's Planet of Fire. Generous is because it moves what I think my number 5 was when I started was going to be. Okay. Move up a slot. So what's your number 5?
Twin Dilemma.
Okay. If it had been any higher, I would have been, what the hell's wrong with you? Okay,
not with Womulus and Weemus. It's just not going to happen.
Oh. All right, so now I'll go first with my number 4. Warriors of the Deep.
Yeah.
I had to move it up because it's got Sea Devils and Silurians, and I got Graham sent me my Silurian. And he's on my shelf.
Oh, so yeah.
And he sent me the regeneration Tennant into Smith. So I've got them hanging out they're on the shelf with my Doctor Who comic book, all volumes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, number 3. Your turn.
Caves of Androzani.
Okay. For me...
In fact, I think, should that be in my 3 or 4? Do I prefer Warriors of the Deep or Caves of Androzani is clearly the better story.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 3. There you go.
My number 3 is The Awakening.
Okay, interesting. All
right. My number 2, Frontios.
Hang on a minute. What am I missing here?
Wait a minute. Did you do your 3? So you haven't done... Yeah, you got... What did you make? You made Resurrection. You made... Oh, wait a minute. Did I fuck that up?
There's 7 stories. That's why.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I was relying on Ross when he said 6, by the way.
Okay. So let's recap. My number 7 is Twin Dilemma. Your number 7 is still Planet
of Fire. It's still Planet of Fire.
All right. My number 6 is Planet of Fire.
And mine is Twin Dilemma.
Okay. So my number 5 would be Warriors of the Deep.
I'm going to agree with that. Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard, because these other stories all have something special. My number... Yeah. Okay, that was number 5. My number 4... Resurrection of the Daleks.
Ooh. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the last ever Runcible report.
Because it's only my number 4?
I jest, of course. Okay, interesting. Mine is probably... Hang on. Caves of Androzani.
Okay. There we go. All right. So both of us put 2 of the more popular stories of this thing dead center. So that's... What was that, number 3?
No, yeah.
We have 3 left.
That's 7. What was number 6 for me? Oh, yeah, Twin Dilemma. 6, there you go. Alright, so I've lost complete track.
That was number 4.
See, we got should 3. Probably plan these.
Yeah, I know. We're up to 3. The final 3 that I have to choose from are The Awakening, Frontios, and Caves of Androzani.
Yeah.
And the final 3 you've got to choose from are The Awakening, Frontios, and Revelation of the Daleks. So what is your number 3?
I'm going to say The Awakening.
Wow, okay. And I'm going to agree with you.
I think 3rd place is suitable.
The top 2 slots in this for both of us are hard. Okay, so I'll go with my number 2, Frontiers.
Yes.
Okay. My number 1 is Caves of Androzani, and yours would be
my first ever Dalek story.
Revelation of the Daleks. So it's you can see that you and me agreed on most of it, but the ones that
Yeah.
They are extremes.
I'm just contrary. What can I say?
No. The last season when we did season 17, me and Jeff's contrariness has never synced up as much as it did in that season. Because sometimes me and him are contrary with each other, but it's a good season. I think it's a good season in the 80s. There's some worse Doctor Who made.
Davison went out on a high.
He did, and
he was right to leave after 3 years because some of his performances throughout this season really are next level, cracking Doctor stuff. Frontios.
I think his Doctor is very
Caves
good.
of Androzani. He's on fire in Caves of Androzani. He's never been better.
I think people go, he's dull, he's stiff, and they don't. I don't think they see what he's doing. I think he's got an energy. I think he is more like Hartnell than any of the others in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely he is. Yeah.
Like
absolutely he is.
Yeah, that I am this authoritative figure, and it's why I like. Matt Smith does it less in his run, but the young guy's playing more like the older Doctors.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And
I think it works better with Davison. I think Matt Smith goes away from it because he can't maintain it.
Davison, bless him, was hampered by the fact that he wasn't Tom Baker, and nor was the Doctor anymore. And I think that put a lot of people off because he's very different to Tom Baker. And he's the uniformed Doctor, you know? He's the Doctor that has his costume and that is it. But like I remember talking to my dad years ago. We were driving on holiday somewhere and we were talking about favourite Doctors. And he said that Davison is his favourite Doctor. He thinks he is the closest to the heart of the character of the Doctor than anyone had come before. And I think that's because obviously there's a lot of Hartnell in there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Troughton. There's a little bit of Pertwee in there. There's a little bit of all of them, apart from probably Tom Baker.
Oh yeah, there's no Tom Baker. There's no Tom Baker. I think, and that's what he did. Is he took what he liked about the previous Doctors, other than his immediate predecessor.
And he was the first young Doctor.
Yeah.
He was the first to sort of break that mold of middle-aged man.
And which I think's great, and you can do it and not make him the sex symbol, which is what they kind of did in Modern Who.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that was
the template for modern Doctor Who, really.
Yeah.
Certainly for people like David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Jodie Whittaker. Less so Eccleston, and definitely not Peter Capaldi.
Oh yeah, Capaldi's more in the vein of classic.
He's more of a Pertwee Baker Doctor. But I think for Whittaker, Smith, and Tennant, that I see so much of the Fifth Doctor and what he was doing in them, and that they're certainly two of the most popular Doctors, and for stupid reasons, Jodie Whittaker isn't one of the most popular Doctors, but she really should be. And with her fans, there is absolutely a loyalty there. For her Doctor, which is really nice to see. If it weren't for Davison, we'd never have had Doctors like this.
No, they would have kept being middle-aged white guys.
Yeah.
And it's good. These are good stories. I'm glad we got one. I was really hoping it looked like we may be doing season 1 or season 4. It's like, let's say, now I'm like going, I don't want to do any black and white seasons for a bit. I want to save them.
I'll put my cards on the table here now. I would like to say season 1 until October, November time next year.
I think you're right. I think we do it as a centenary issue. Maybe get Vic to come in and talk about it if she wants. Join us. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Well, we got a lot of stuff coming up, folks. Vic and me will be talking about, what is it? Damn, Lanyon Moore. What is it? Damn it.
Oh, the Spectre of Lanyon Moore.
Yeah, our next story of me and Vic is the Spectre of Lanyon Moore. I'm excited. I've listened to the first 2.5 episodes. It's got that great monster voice. It's such a good monster voice. And me and Vic are doing some planning because we want to deal with the Dalek arc that went through early Big Finish. We've already done the final part, Embrace the Darkness, but we haven't done the 5th, 6th, or 7th Doctor. Dalek Empire.
Oh, the 7th Doctor one's the one with the library, isn't it? On the jungle planet.
Yeah. So we haven't done them in the right order. So me and Vic are going to do some moving around. So we may do Big Finish we want to do those in order. And the next one after Lanyon Moore is the Apocalypse Element, which is a great 60s story. And that's coming up. And me and Jeff have some stuff. We will plan some more stuff. Maybe we'll do another producer.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, and we will start a new poll. Because the last poll we did was RTD, and I kind of want to not do RTD1 for a while.
Yeah.
You know, we may just say that's going to be the last one we do, and we'll do it in like his second season back or something. You know what I mean? So we can go. This is once we have a taste of RTD2. I would
R2D2.
like to, Yep. I would like to compare them. So I
can't read RTD2 without reading RTD2.
I know. I know.
It's killing me, folks. It's killing me. Can we come up with a different name?
2D.
2D.
1D, 2D.
1D,
2D.
You see, it's just no. It's total head screw up.
But I'll put a choice of producers up, and we can talk about them because he's already covered Verity. But folks, you can find Jeff. Oh, Jeff has a recommendation. We have not done plugs, so I'll let Jeff. Jeff has one and I have one. So
I've actually got 2 recommendations.
Oh,
just on the heels of last week's episode, I just want to give another shout out to Paul Cook and at Zygon Diaries. I got my copy, my hard copy, and it is absolutely stunning. I'm not just saying that to promote it. I'm saying that as a fan, and I'm saying that as someone who's interested in this kind of thing anyway. It's glossy. It's packed full of art. It weighs a ton. You could probably kill a rhino with it. I think if you hit it hard enough or dropped it from a great enough height. It's such a solid production, and
it's gorgeous,
just
folks.
shout
It's
out
gorgeous.
to Paul, because Paul's the mastermind behind it. He's far too modest to ever admit it, but that guy is driven, and he has worked so hard, and just seeing such a beautiful thing come out at the end of it makes me so happy for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, my other recommendation is I've been watching Arcane, League of Legends, and if you like a bit of animation and you like really pretty animation, and anyone who listens to me rabbit on here or other places knows that I'm all about the pretty. I love stuff that looks pretty.
I have no idea what this is, folks. I'm Googling it now as we speak.
It's on Netflix. It's basically a spin-off of a game, League of Legends, and it's the backstory of a couple of characters that are game characters in League of Legends. But it's very steampunk. It's artistically, it just blows my mind, and the animation is really nicely done. It's computer animation, but it looks so pretty. It almost has a cel shaded feel to it. It's really nice, really nice. So yeah, that's what I've been watching this week, waiting for Sea Devils to turn up on my telly.
Yes, Sea Devils. No, I don't have anything to recommend.
You got nothing.
Nothing, because I'm reading a lot of comics. I'm jumping all over the place. Folks, I do have something to recommend. I do, because we are thinking about, we did have all these 80s, this is very 80s science fiction-y. Go watch some 80s science fiction. I have a soft spot for it. It was like a heyday of really, I think, cutting-edge science fiction, and it led to stuff. You know, this is reflective of that time. Watch Outland if you can find it. Watch Outland. Watch Blade Runner. Watch.
I love Blade Runner.
Yeah, you know. Watch the first Alien movie. There's some late
70s, but I'll let you
late 70s. But that's when what they're ripping on in this season started.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's actually started sooner. There's a movie I love called Silent Running with Bruce Dern.
Yeah.
That's a masterpiece. If folks you've never seen that, that's a 70s story about ecology, and it's the most mellow, soft Bruce Dern you've ever seen. Because it's amazing. But go do that. But folks, you can find us on Twitter at Runcible Report or at Gallifrey's MW Pod. We will be back with more fun with both shows, and We will be back. The three of us will get together a week from Sunday to talk about Eve of the Daleks and the new Sea Devil story, because I had some stuff came up and we paused right at New Year's, so we never covered Evil Daleks. So we're going to talk about both of them.
Whoop, whoop.
And it gives me a reason to watch it again. So.
Oh, can't. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, I just wish it was out on flipping DVD or Blu-ray.
We're not getting that until after the centenary.
No, it's going to be a nice triple set, I think.
Oh yeah,
it comes out
and probably maybe put that audio thing. That new. What's the new? Hey, let's plug. Let's.
Doctor Who Redacted on BBC Sounds.
Okay, I don't know if I can get that.
Sounds app.
I will see.
I don't know if you can get that, but
I'll try. Maybe they'll offer it on Audible.
Maybe you've got a BBC America Sounds.
Well, maybe it's on Audible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it could be, yeah.
I got a
written by
credit
Juno Dawson, with Jodie Whittaker. I listened to the trailer.
How is it?
It's only a minute long. It's great. Jodie needs to go to Big Finish. Oh, God, she's going to be great.
I know. I've been playing catch up on Big Finish. Stranded has come out, and Jeff and me have both. And we've reached out to Mark Cockrum, so we need to schedule that. We're going to have Mark come back because we covered parts 1 and 2 with him. We'll have him come back when we talk 3 and 4 and overall. And folks, if you don't listen, this is the last box set era. The box set era is technically over, from what I understand.
We're just going to get like
small
big
sets.
Stories now.
Yeah, 3 or 4 stories.
Or small sets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big stories or small sets.
Yeah, which is fine because I love the further adventurous of Charlotte Pollard set. Was great.
I'm really desperate to hear the new First Doctor story that's come out with Stephen Noonan as the First Doctor.
Yeah, I'm
really intrigued by that, and the Colin Baker War Doctor set as well.
There's a lot of good Big Finish coming out. And another Big Finish. I need to listen to Matthew Waterhouse's audiobook. Folks, try Scourge of the Cybermen and what's the other one? The Annihilators.
The Annihilators.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Scourge of the Cybermen and the Annihilators. There's so much good stuff coming out. But folks, come back in 2 weeks when we're back. Me and Jeff are back. We appreciate you listening, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.